Meet Scott Chambers, a young, dedicated Christian with strong values and a friendly disposition. Every Sunday you'll find Scott welcoming people into his home church, no longer Centred Church of Christ. He is involved in various youth ministries and outreach programs, as well as regularly leading worship services. At first glance, he appears to be the ideal Christian. Scott has a genuine heart for worship and a passion for his much-loved sport, basketball, in which over the years he has experienced many glorious moments.
Hopkins with the ball, 2 seconds remaining, passes to Chambers, Chambers takes a shot, yes, it's done, game over, they win, the Bombers win.
The ABA Championship win at the end of season 2001 was but one example of the success that personifies the illustrious basketball career of Scott Chambers. Seen here at an awards night receiving many accolades, including a National ABA Championship MVP award. But tainting the success of this Christian athlete is a phenomenon known only as white line fever. Little is known as to the cause of this phenomenon. Away from the sporting arena, Scott Chambers is a regular person, often seen socialising with his friends. But something happens when he crosses that line. To help unravel this mystery, we've located archival footage of an interview with Scott's long-term friend and teammate, Brad Hopkins.
Okay, about Scott. He's a pretty cool guy. He's a friend of mine, and we've been wanting to play basketball for a while, and as you can probably see, he's not the best at the moment, but he's a pretty determined guy. He loves, being competitive and playing board games. And, it just made sense that we'd start playing some basketball together, and we're pretty good mates and that, and we get along well. We've got a pretty good understanding and stuff on the court, and even at church and that, we lead a youth group together, and he's a cool guy. He's good fun, pretty competitive bloke and that, but I enjoy playing with him.
This may be so, but as Scott's outbursts intensify, even Brad found himself on the receiving end. As Scott's ability on the court increased, adversely, his teamwork with Brad began to fail. Scott's attitude soured. His on-court respect disappeared for his teammates and opposition alike. The downhill slide had begun.
What's wrong with that?
That's 23 yellow, hands, 2 shots. That's tech. That's double tech, you're out.
It's hard to believe that not everyone saw this side of Scott. Take his pastor, Glenn Munyard.
Yeah, well, Scott's just a lovely guy, I can't say enough about him. He's just dedicated in everything that he does. In all ways, he's just servant-hearted and just wants to give and give and give in his Christian life. Just the other day I was just up worship leading, and he was worship leading, and I was just up there singing with him, and he's just got such a great heart for worship, and that's something I really admire in a person with a real heart for worship like that. And I can see Scott going so far. I've only known him a couple of years, yet he just astounds me with his Christian maturity and the way in which he just gets in there as a real role model for people, and the things that he does in this church. It's just fantastic, and I just can't say enough about Scott and his Christian journey, and I'm sure that God's got huge things in store for him.
Pastor Glenn, like many others, have not seen the intense ambivalence or double standards in Scott's life. There are a few, however, who can attest to his two-faced nature. Brad Hopkins, friend and teammate.
Scott Chambers, what can I say? Come a long way with his basketball. we both done pretty well, got through the ABA level now, and you can see him out there training in his uniform. He's pretty hard competitor, but it's just his attitude on the court. It's like as soon as he crosses that white line, it's like I've lost my mate all of a sudden. He just changes, goes nuts. He competes pretty fiercely, but he spits the dummy and gives heaps to the refs and other players. And I've been on the end of a few of his dummy spits at times. But what can I say? He's a good basketball player, but man, he just changes once he gets on that court.
Even at the highest level, Scott displayed a distinct lack of sportsmanship, as many elite athletes would testify.
I'm here with Mark Nash, 36's basketball player. Mark, when did you first play a game of basketball with Scott Chambers?
Well, I think the first time Scotty and I came together, I think it was mid-90s. We came together in a basketball carnival out in the country somewhere, and he was a very tough guy. I wasn't sure what to expect, but he's got a great work ethic out on the floor and a tough player, and they snuck away with the win.
Mm-hmm. And how is Scott's on-court attitude?
Well, that's an interesting question. Scotty's he gets pretty fired up when he's out there on the court, and I think he really lets his emotions take over. He's he's a very emotional guy out there, and he's not afraid to throw his weight around, and basketballs for that matter too. But he's a tough competitor, and I don't really enjoy coming up against him that often.
Mm-hmm. But doesn't he also worship lead at church?
Yeah, he does actually. He's a worship leader. I've been along to his church quite a number of times, and Scotty does a great job there. He's on fire for the Lord, and he's involved in youth groups and Bible studies and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes it's a little bit hard to imagine it's the same person up in church to what you see on the basketball court.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mark.
Indeed, it is hard to believe that a person with such strong convictions in one area of their life can completely change when they cross that white line. Scott demonstrates regularly this Jekyll and Hyde transformation, a dichotomy of values, hypocrisy personified. Or put more simply, Scott spends a lot of time on both sides of the fence. This leaves us with the question, what will people remember most about Scott Chambers?
Not always size that matters, mate.
So you little guys that say that.
That's Scott Chambers. He's a psycho.